Well, the question I think that most people have been asking is whether or not we have been in a recession or are we about to enter into a recession. To date, we have not entered a recession, even though we've experienced 2 consecutive quarters of negative real GDP. And it's primarily because the strength of the labor market, the growth in industrial production, and the growth in employment continues to be positive. So with consumption up, output rising, and jobs growing, it's difficult to enter into a recession. The Federal Reserve has said that the current level of inflation, which is running 8% in total and about 5% on a core basis, needs to be moving toward 2%, which is the level they believe is appropriate in a growing economy. Since we are so far above that inflation rate, the Fed has changed monetary policy and begun to increase interest rates to the point that it will dampen consumption expenditures, ultimately capital investment, and we will be in a recession in the early part of 2023. We think that recession is relatively mild and will last a relatively short period of time, perhaps just the first half of the year, primarily due to the strength of the labor markets. Consumption will continue to grow at a very slow pace as consumers adjust to rising prices. And finally, unemployment will rise. We do think that ultimately we reach 5% unemployment rate by the middle of 2023, up from the 3.5% rate we've been experiencing here in the second half of 2022. Certainly Northwest Ohio has been impacted by the change in monetary policy that the Fed began to execute in March of this year. Rising interest rates have caused mortgage rates to move above 7% from under 3% at their low point in January and February of this year. That is having an impact on the housing sector. Far fewer people can afford to buy a home with the financing costs as high as they are and the price increases that have continued to be reported. Building material price increases, labor costs have continued to cause the price of a new home or even an existing home to rise at an unsustainable rate. So the housing sector will continue to suffer as this process of raising rates to dampen consumption expenditures continues into 2023. We continue to run issues with supply chain disruptions, and therefore I think a lot of the industrial base in Northwest Ohio can continue to expand as we attempt to address low inventories and supply chain problems. Those will eventually resolve themselves as we enter in a recovery phase of the business cycle in the second half of 2023. So the risk, I think, to Northwest Ohio is the next 9 months, not the next 2 or 3 years. Now, the one sector that we need to be careful about is the ag business sector. That business has done extremely well this year with strong yields and rising prices. However, the input costs have risen dramatically also. So it's going to require a low carryover of inventory of ag commodities to support the price levels that have been achieved so far. So 2023 could be a much more difficult year in the ag sector, while the industrial base can experience continued growth, but at a slower pace than has been the case in the last 2 years. I think the positive going forward is the resolution of the structural problems that we have that continues to affect inflation and ultimately economic growth. I think eventually we'll get a better balance in the labor market with participation rates moving up, particularly if a recession unfolds and One of the family members is unemployed. Others will step in and take jobs that at this point they've not been willing to take. I think those jobs will be there and are available. I think that's a positive. I think that the political instability that has contributed to the fears that a lot of people have will be resolved, at least to some degree, with the midterm elections that we're going to experience, and that we will eventually arrive at more of a consensus opinion about the role of the federal government, the use of stimulus as a way to correct the business cycle, and the Federal Reserve will have success in bringing the inflation rate down. So I see us coming out of a short, mild recession in the first part of 2023 with a fairly robust recovery in the latter part of 2023 and into 2024.